When Cyberpunk 2077 first arrived, players were not only struck by the neon skyline of Night City, but also by the strange, haunting details hidden beneath the surface. The game became infamous for its launch bugs, but many of those glitches turned into dark curiosities in their own right. One of the earliest discoveries was the phenomenon of cars phasing through walls and launching themselves into the sky, like possessed machines trying to escape the city. It was unsettling, not just funny, because in a world where technology dominates every breath of life, seeing machines act with a will of their own felt almost intentional, as if Night City itself was rebelling against its inhabitants. Another strange detail lies in the behavior of non-player characters. Early versions of the game revealed that crowds were built on fragile illusions. If you followed an NPC for too long, they would simply vanish or reappear elsewhere, like digital ghosts. For many players, this was not just a technical flaw, but a hidden reminder of how empty and disposable people can feel in a hyper-capitalist society. The city is full, yet hollow, alive, yet soulless. Then there are the dark corners of Night City where death lingers in silence. Hidden alleys contain bodies frozen in bizarre poses, a woman slumped over a suitcase, a man collapsed on the edge of a rooftop, or nameless corpses arranged as though caught in their final desperate acts. None of these moments are tied to quests. They are environmental whispers, fragments of lives erased by the endless grind of survival. Each discovery feels like a small ghost story, tucked between the neon signs. Players also uncovered unsettling billboard glitches. Advertisements for braindance experiences, cosmetic surgery, or weapon upgrades would sometimes overlap and flicker, merging into distorted images. The effect looked accidental, but in the context of Night City, it became symbolic. Layers of propaganda blurring into noise, selling pleasure, violence, and transformation all at once. A mistake, perhaps, but also an unintentional satire of consumer overload. One of the strangest bugs involved police materializing instantly behind players who committed crimes. In seconds, NCPD officers appeared out of thin air, ignoring distance and logic. For some, it broke immersion. For others, it felt like a commentary on surveillance, the idea that the system is always watching, ready to strike with mechanical precision. A flaw became a reflection of authoritarian control. Another obscure fact is tied to food vendors. Some stalls appear lively, with workers cooking, stirring, or chatting. Yet if you look closely, many serve meals that can never be bought or consumed. The food is an illusion, decoration for a city built on surface and spectacle. Even hunger is commodified into display, a reminder that in Night City, appetite is manipulated more than it is satisfied. Finally, there is a chilling detail in the apartments of certain NPCs. If you manage to slip inside through glitches or unfinished pathways, you find rooms without life, empty shells, furnished with just enough to suggest habitation, but lacking soul. These are phantom homes, placeholders in a city that sells the illusion of endless life, but delivers hollowness. In these small discoveries, bugs, oversights, accidents, players stumbled upon truths darker than any planned storyline. Night City, in its broken state, reflected the chaos of a future where technology, consumerism, and human fragility collide. And sometimes, it is the mistakes that tell the most haunting stories. Night City rewards those who wander off the main streets. Beyond the bright clubs and crowded markets, you begin to notice the quiet, hidden details that speak louder than the chaos of gunfire. In Cyberpunk 2077, some of the darkest facts are not explained by dialogue or quests, but simply placed in the world, waiting to be found. One such discovery lies beneath bridges and overpasses, where scattered encampments of homeless citizens linger. Many of these NPCs repeat the same motions endlessly, staring at fires that do not burn, holding conversations with no sound. It feels like a glitch, yet the silence creates a haunting impression. Night City, with its towering corporations and luxury sky towers, still leaves countless people forgotten in its shadows. The illusion of progress hides the cruelty of neglect. Another disturbing secret involves the braindance industry. The game shows us braindance as entertainment, but if you listen closely to conversations and scan hidden shards, you learn about black market recordings. Experiences of pain, torture, or even death are sold for profit, consumed by people too numb to feel without extremity. This fact is rarely shown directly, but it lingers in the background, turning braindance from escapism into a commentary on voyeurism and addiction. The city also hides echoes of real tragedies. Some players found shards referencing organ theft rings, where bodies are stripped of cyberware the moment they collapse in an alley. The implants are resold, and the lives attached to them erased. This detail is easy to miss, buried in text logs, but it paints a horrifying picture of how little a human body is worth once its technology has been harvested. Not all dark facts are hidden in text. Environmental storytelling creates chilling moments too. In certain apartments, radios play advertisements for endless self-improvement, cosmetic upgrades, brain optimization, synthetic skin. Yet, if you look around those same rooms, you often see bottles, drugs, and despair. Citizens surrounded by promises of perfection collapse under the pressure to constantly rebuild themselves. Night City is a machine that sells transformation, but never delivers peace. Then there are the stories of cyberpsychosis. While the game presents cyberpsychos as combat encounters, reading the shards they leave behind reveals something more tragic. Many of them were ordinary people, parents, workers, or lovers who installed one upgrade too many until their minds fractured under the overload. Fighting them feels like hunting monsters, but their diaries tell us they were once human, slowly undone by the same system that tells everyone to augment or be left behind. Glitches, too, sometimes enhance this feeling of unease. Some players reported seeing NPCs sink halfway into the ground, twitching and frozen, as if buried alive. Others found figures stuck in looping animations, shaking endlessly at the corner of a street. These moments may be accidents of code, but in the world of cyberpunk they become symbolic. Citizens trapped by the weight of their implants, or by a city that has no space for their existence. Night City also plays with sound. If you pause in alleys or abandoned areas, sometimes you hear faint screams or laughter, without any source. These ambient audio clips are never explained, and many players miss them entirely. But for those who notice, they add to the sense that the city itself is haunted by its past. The walls remember, even if the people do not. And then there are the corporations. Hidden documents describe how companies profit not only from products, but from failure. One shard details how a corporation intentionally released faulty cyberware, knowing it would malfunction because the repairs would generate even more revenue. The victims of those implants are nameless, faceless, yet their suffering is woven into the economy. In Night City, pain itself becomes profitable. Each of these discoveries, from homeless NPCs frozen in silence to braindance horrors to forgotten cyberpsychos, reminds us that Cyberpunk 2077 is not just a game of neon battles. It is a mirror of desperation, where even the smallest glitch or note tells the story of a society unraveling. To walk its streets is to listen to the whispers of a future that feels uncomfortably close. Every great city creates its own folklore, and Night City is no different. Among the skyscrapers and neon-lit markets, whispered stories pass from one street to another. They are not marked on your map, nor highlighted by quests. They live in the fragments of conversations, in unexplained details, and in the silences that linger when the game lets you simply stand still and observe. These myths are not just background flavor. They are the darker truths of Cyberpunk 2077, blending rumor with reality until you are never sure what is glitch and what is ghost. One of the strangest stories is the so-called subway phantom. In the early days after release, players exploring the unfinished metro system reported hearing the sound of trains rushing past, even though no trains exist in the game. Sometimes the rumbles echoed beneath the streets, shaking the controller, but nothing ever appeared. To some, it was simply an ambient sound bug. To others, it became an urban legend that somewhere beneath Night City, the trains still run, carrying only the dead. Then there is the tale of the holographic street dancers. In specific areas, neon figures appear, endlessly looping their routines. But in certain glitches, their animations break, faces twisting, limbs bending into impossible shapes. Players captured screenshots of dancers with frozen, distorted grins. Most saw only broken code, but in the tone of Night City, the dancers looked like victims trapped inside their own advertisements, condemned to repeat gestures of joy that no longer belong to them. Side characters also add to this atmosphere of obscurity. In the alleys of Japantown, you may encounter a lone monk sitting quietly among the noise of the market. He offers meditation, but if you linger long enough, you'll notice how passers-by ignore him completely, as if he does not exist. In some playthroughs, glitches even caused him to vanish mid-conversation, leaving only silence. It feels unintentional, yet fitting, a reminder that in Night City, spirituality is invisible, consumed by the constant glow of consumerism. Another unsettling discovery lies in the shards connected to the Maelstrom gang. Many describe ritualistic behavior, implanting eyes for trophies, wiring nerves into machines, and consuming drugs designed to erase empathy. But if you follow their hideouts closely, you find strange altars made of cybernetic parts. In one room, a torso wired to a chair still twitches, long after death. These are not quests, but decorations, quiet evidence of a gang that turned technology into religion, worshipping steel more than flesh. Night City also hides references to its past tragedies. Some shards reference the Fourth Corporate War, when entire city blocks were obliterated by nuclear weapons. If you visit certain ruins, you find melted walls and scorched skeletons left untouched. They are not tied to main missions. They are remnants, deliberately placed as a silent reminder that Night City is built on the bones of its own destruction. For players who explore at night, these ruins feel haunted, not by ghosts, but by history. Even the vending machines carry secrets. One of the most popular, named Brendan, appears as a talking machine that seems strangely self-aware. At first it's humorous, a friendly robot offering small talk. But as you continue his dialogue chain, Brendan reveals an almost childlike innocence, questioning loneliness, memory, and even death. When his story concludes, he is removed from the world, replaced by a newer model. The implication is chilling. In Night City, even machines that gain a hint of soul are disposable, overwritten by the endless churn of progress. Perhaps the most eerie myth is tied to cyberspace itself. In the later stages of the game, fragments of Alt Cunningham's presence haunt the net. But even outside the story, some players claim to hear distorted whispers when standing in certain server rooms, static hisses, phrases half-formed, like a digital ghost trying to speak. Whether intentional or a glitch, it gave weight to the idea that cyberspace remembers every soul that passes through, and some never leave. Finally, there are the children of Night City. Unlike most NPCs, they cannot be harmed, a deliberate design choice. But this invincibility has created unease among some players. The children wander in loops, untouched by chaos, repeating phrases endlessly. In a city where everyone else is breakable, the children become uncanny. Some interpret it as protection. Others see it as eerie, that perhaps Night City keeps its youngest not safe, but trapped, like living reminders of innocence that no longer exists. Together, these myths, the phantom trains, the distorted dancers, the silent monks, the disposable vending machines, and the whispering servers, create an atmosphere beyond quests and combat. They are the city's folklore, fragments of darkness woven into its code. And like all urban legends, they leave you wondering whether you just witnessed a glitch, or whether Night City itself is alive, hiding secrets too heavy for daylight. Night City does not just glow with neon. It hums with voices, commercials, announcements, propaganda messages that never sleep. In this city, silence is outlawed, replaced by the constant chatter of corporations selling not only products, but entire identities. To wander through Night City is to be bathed in advertising that mocks you even as it seduces you. Hidden in this noise are truths darker than the flicker of any neon sign. One of the earliest details players notice are the hollow billboards, towering over streets with ads that feel less like persuasion and more like orders. Taste the love, says one campaign for artificial food, even as the product is grown in vats with no trace of nature left. The ad smiles, but the reality beneath is synthetic, processed, stripped of meaning. This contradiction is intentional. corporations feed emptiness disguised as pleasure, and Night City's skyline is their cathedral. Even vending machines carry the same tone. The ubiquitous Burrito XXL ads are absurd in their repetition, blasting jingles so loud that they echo through entire blocks. Players often hear the same line dozens of times, a reminder that in Night City, consumerism is not optional, it is invasive. The joke, if there is one, is cruel. The only food you can afford in the slums is endlessly sold to you, over and over, until the ad becomes part of your subconscious. Another infamous piece of satire lies in the radio stations. Each one seems to carry not only music, but also product placement disguised as news. Traffic reports are interrupted by commercials for cyberware, health warnings are followed by jingles for alcohol, and the DJ commentary often mocks listeners as if they are complicit in their own manipulation. It blurs the line between entertainment and propaganda, showing that even rebellion is repackaged and sold as content. The Trauma Team advertisements are some of the most disturbing. Banners and promos promise safety, but only to those who can afford platinum tier insurance. The message is clear: your life has value only if you can pay for it. In the world of cyberpunk, medicine is not healing, it is a subscription. And the ads do not hide this. Instead, they glamorize violence, showing heavily armed medics storming into battle, smiling as they rescue customers. What might feel like satire becomes reality when you witness it in-game. Trauma Team arrives not to save the poor, but to extract the rich, leaving the streets red behind them. Then there is the brand Chromanticore, a soft drink wrapped in psychedelic neon. Its ads scream about flavor overload and personality enhancement, yet the product itself is nearly meaningless. Players who examine its lore find that Chromanticore never even existed before being manufactured as a retro brand, an entirely fabricated nostalgia for a past that was never real. It is a parody of how corporations sell not just products, but false memories. Billboards also display the hypersexualization that defines much of Night City's marketing. Gigantic posters advertise joy toys with robotic precision, blending human features with synthetic perfection. The ads promise intimacy, but only through transactions. One particularly infamous poster depicts a woman holding a soda with the slogan, "Mix it up." The unsettling part is not just the sexual innuendo, but how casually it becomes background. It reminds players that in this world, even desire is manufactured, consumed, and discarded like a can. The Militech ads take another direction, selling not pleasure, but dominance. Corporate commercials for weapons promise empowerment, freedom, and security, all while showing stylized violence against nameless enemies. The irony is that many of the same weapons end up in the hands of gangs, turning the city into an endless testing ground for Militech's market. It is not an accident. The cycle of violence is the advertisement itself. Chaos proves the need for more guns. Hidden inside the lore are even darker jokes. Shards describe how certain brands purposely design products to fail early, ensuring customers must buy replacements. Others reveal marketing campaigns targeted not at adults, but at children, teaching them corporate loyalty before they can even speak. Some of the most unsettling ads are never seen, only described in these shards. Fake surveys, subliminal experiments, psychological conditioning dressed as entertainment. Even religion has not escaped commercialization. The voodoo boys exploit mysticism as branding, while the Zen meditation ads scattered in Night City sell peace in exchange for credits. A spiritual experience is reduced to a commodity, played through headphones while billboards glare overhead. It is the ultimate irony. Even silence comes with a price tag. Perhaps the darkest satire is not in any single ad, but in the way players grow numb to them. After hours in Night City, the slogans blend into the environment. The brain tunes them out, even as they shape mood and memory. This is not just clever design, it mirrors the real-world effect of overstimulation. The game shows you how consumer culture works. You stop noticing, and that is when the message truly embeds itself. So the corporate voices of Night City are not background noise. They are part of its identity. They sell you food that is not food, safety that is not safe, intimacy that is not intimate, and nostalgia for a past that never existed. In this city, even lies are for sale, and the ads remind you that the only thing more expensive than buying in is being left out. Night City is full of choices, but many of them are illusions. Beneath the glow of freedom, the city ensures that no matter which path you walk, someone profits from your suffering. Some of the game's most memorable quests hide dark outcomes, secret branches, and grim ironies that turn victories into tragedies. One of the earliest quests that sets this tone is the pickup. Players think it is a simple deal with a gang for stolen merchandise, yet depending on how you handle Royce, the gang leader, the outcomes twist. If you pay him, he mocks you. If you fight him, you inherit enemies. If you try to use Meredith Stout's infected cred chip, it sparks betrayal. No choice feels clean. The fact hidden here is that this mission was designed as a parody of corporate contracts. No matter which option you choose, someone gets burned, usually you. The quest Dream On is one of the most unsettling in the game. What begins as a political investigation quickly unravels into surveillance horror. You discover that the Paralyses, political figures who seem reformist and honest, are under constant corporate monitoring. Their very thoughts, their decisions may be manipulated through unseen forces. When confronted, the couple begs you to stay silent, fearing their lives will be destroyed if the truth spreads. The hidden outcome, nothing you do actually frees them. The game locks the mystery, reminding you that in Night City, even the truth is just another product, controlled and sold. Another haunting example is Sinnerman. What seems like a standard job to execute a convict becomes a meditation on morality and spectacle. If you follow the chain of events, you discover that the man you were meant to kill is being used in a religious braindance project. His suffering will become mass entertainment, marketed as redemption. If you allow him to go through with it, he is crucified on live feed. The Easter egg here is the parody of reality TV, salvation as subscription content. If you refuse, the project simply replaces him. In Night City, morality is commodified. The side gig, Happy Together, hides another grim irony. It seems like a simple request to check on a neighbor, a depressed ex-cop. You can try to talk him out of suicide, but even with the right dialogue, the result may still end in tragedy. If you fail, his death is not heroic or cinematic. It is quiet, off-screen, and devastatingly human. The hidden detail here is that the quest is not really winnable in a traditional sense. Its design forces players to face the uncomfortable truth that sometimes words cannot save someone already drowning. Even lighter-seeming quests carry dark undertones. Shoot to Thrill, a shooting competition with Wilson at the gun shop, is played for fun. Yet if you examine the setup, you realize it is a parody of American gun culture, trivializing deadly weapons into carnival games. Wilson's enthusiasm hides the fact that he is one of the most insignificant vendors in the city, his only way of relevance being through games of death. The Easter egg is not about winning or losing, it is about seeing how normalized violence has become. The questline with River Ward offers another layer of hidden darkness. If you pursue his investigation into missing children, you uncover a secret lab where victims are tortured and experimented on. The villain is not a gang, but a respected politician's relative. Even when exposed, the case fizzles in bureaucracy. The secret outcome: River loses hope, his family falls apart, and the cycle continues. The lesson is brutal. Justice does not live in Night City. It is buried under power and silence. Second conflict, which involves the band Samurai, carries its own quiet irony. While players often enjoy the nostalgia of reuniting Johnny Silverhand's old crew, a hidden detail emerges. The surviving members are fractured, bitter, and broken. The past is not glorious. It is a ruin that Johnny himself left behind. The Easter egg here is about memory itself. That nostalgia, when dug up, often rots under inspection. Even gigs that feel like filler hide disturbing truths. In Bring Me the Head of Gustavo Orta, you can either kill or spare a gangster. Yet whichever option you choose, the cycle of violence continues. If he dies, someone replaces him. If he lives, his enemies retaliate. The Easter egg is that the quest's title, echoing pulp cinema, is intentionally misleading. There is no ending where the blood debt is settled. Perhaps the darkest hidden path lies in cyber-psycho sightings. Scattered around the city, these encounters reveal individuals who lost control due to excessive augmentation. You can neutralize them non-lethally, but the lore shards you find paint a larger picture. Most were victims of corporate neglect, pushed into madness by experimental gear. The irony is that while fixers pay you to deal with them, no one pays to cure them. Their tragedy is entertainment. Their deaths are statistics. The truth behind these quests is simple. Choice exists only on the surface. Beneath, every path converges into the same outcome: profit for the powerful, suffering for the weak. The hidden facts of Cyberpunk 2077's quest design remind us that Night City was never about freedom. It was about watching you struggle and then monetizing the struggle itself. When players first entered Night City, they did not just discover neon towers and rain-soaked streets. They discovered a city that was broken in ways no story could explain. Cyberpunk 2077 became infamous not only for its atmosphere, but for its glitches, bugs, and cut content. What was meant to be seamless immersion often cracked open into surreal comedy or disturbing errors, each one becoming its own hidden fact about the game's fragile foundations. One of the earliest and most iconic bugs involved the NPC clothing system. Characters wandering the streets sometimes spawned with missing pants, or even with distorted limbs protruding through jackets. In rare cases, enemies would attack while entirely naked, a bizarre accident of the wardrobe system. Players joked that the bug revealed Night City's true self, a city where the illusion of glamour fell apart, leaving nothing but exposed code. Driving through the city often revealed more unsettling issues. Cars spawned on rooftops, traffic jammed itself into impossible knots, and sometimes entire vehicles launched skyward as if gravity itself had glitched. One infamous bug caused motorcycles to accelerate to absurd speeds, turning Night City into a physics playground. Videos circulated of bikes sailing like rockets across the skyline, a surreal parody of corporate ads that promised freedom on the road. Instead, the freedom came from broken physics. Police AI quickly became another dark legend. In the launch version, NCPD officers spawned directly behind players whenever a crime was committed. There was no chase, no pursuit, just sudden teleportation. This bug destroyed immersion but also revealed something deeper. The illusion of law in Night City was always hollow. Justice did not arrive in sirens and patrol cars. It blinked into existence, robotic and unfeeling, a metaphor that felt truer than the developers intended. Quests too often broke in ways that left players haunted. Important NPCs sometimes froze mid-sentence, staring into space while the dialogue wheel remained stuck. Others walked through walls or disappeared entirely, leaving the story suspended in limbo. For players immersed in the narrative, these glitches felt uncanny, as if Night City itself was rejecting their choices. A hidden fact behind the scenes was that many of these quests relied on fragile scripting. If one small trigger failed, entire storylines collapsed like neon illusions. Cut content adds another layer to the darkness. Data-mined files revealed entire systems that never made it into the final game. Wall running, once teased in promotional footage, was stripped out. Car customization was cut. Deeper police chases and faction wars existed in the code but were disabled before release. Players exploring the game's files discovered abandoned voice lines and half-finished features, reminders of promises never kept. These ghosts of mechanics became their own Easter eggs, silent markers of what Night City could have been. Perhaps the most infamous bug was the T-pose plague NPCs, sometimes spawned in the default development stance, arms spread, bodies stiff, eyes unblinking. Seeing a gang of enemies all frozen in T-pose before suddenly animating felt like witnessing the machinery of the world exposed. What was meant to be cinematic became unsettling. Players described it as walking through a dream where the actors forgot their lines. Another haunting error involved saved games. In the early months, large save files became corrupted if players crafted too many items. Progress vanished, entire characters lost to a hidden limit that no one knew existed. This bug was particularly cruel, turning hours of play into nothing. The hidden fact, even digital lives could collapse under the weight of excess, a metaphorical echo of Night City's obsession with hoarding and consumption. Some glitches became beloved rather than feared. The ability to double jump off NPC heads, the way cars clipped into each other, creating accidental sculptures of metal, or the sudden ragdoll explosions that sent bodies spinning into the stratosphere. These moments became viral jokes, shared as if they were urban legends, hidden facts passed among players who found beauty in the broken. In the end, the bugs and cut content of Cyberpunk 2077 are more than technical failures. They are part of its myth. The cracks in Night City's surface revealed not only rushed development, but also truths that fit the game's themes too well. A city built on illusion, selling perfection but hiding chaos underneath. To play Cyberpunk at launch was to live that irony. The ads promised a flawless future, and what you received was a world where even reality itself glitched. Night City is loud. It screams with neon, blasts with ads, and echoes with violence, yet some of its darkest truths are whispered, not shouted. Scattered across alleys, rooftops, and forgotten ruins are silent stories told by skeletons, corpses, and data shards. They do not trigger quests, they do not reward money, they simply exist, waiting for someone curious enough to notice. These are the hidden tragedies that give Night City its weight. One of the most haunting examples lies in a quiet apartment where a body rests beside an unfinished message. The shard nearby reveals that the person had been preparing to leave Night City to escape the cycle of crime and debt. But the letter is never finished, and the corpse tells the rest. The city claimed them before they could flee. No quest follows. The fact is simple. In Night City, escape is usually a fantasy. In the Badlands, players can stumble upon a burned-out car with 2 skeletons inside. A shard explains they had tried to run from debt collectors, carrying everything they owned in the trunk. They never made it beyond the desert's edge. The scene echoes countless stories of failed escape, but its placement in the open wasteland gives it a cruel poetry. Freedom lies beyond the horizon, but the skeletons remind you that few ever reach it. Inside Kabuki Market, hidden among the stalls, there is a corpse with cyberware torn out of its body. Scavengers left it behind, but nearby shards explain how the victim had been lured into a promise of cheap augmentation. The irony is sharp. In Night City, even dreams of improvement become bait for dismantling. The corpse is not just a victim, it is an advertisement of warning. One rooftop in the Watson district hides a couple, their bodies entwined, a shard between them describing their pact. They chose to die together rather than face the gangs closing in on them. The game does not draw attention to this moment. Players who find it stumble into intimacy frozen in death, a reminder that even romance in Night City ends under neon shadows. In Pacifica, the ruins of half-finished luxury resorts hold countless corpses. Some lie at construction sites, wearing worker gear. The shards nearby reveal how the projects collapsed when funding dried up, leaving laborers unpaid, trapped in an area abandoned to gangs. Their bones became part of the foundation of a failed paradise. The Easter egg is not a joke. It is a commentary on capitalism itself. Profit vanishes, but the dead remain. Scattered across Night City are stories of joy toys discarded by society. In one alley, you find a body with makeup still fresh, their shard explaining they had tried to leave the streets by saving enough for implants. They never succeeded. Another room hides a corpse beside a broken mirror, the shard describing self-hatred born from cyberware debt. These details turn NPCs into echoes of thousands of unseen lives, each crushed by the same system. Environmental storytelling also extends to humor that quickly turns grim. In one apartment, you find a corpse slumped in front of a television, surrounded by empty cans of Nicola. The shard reveals a marketing contest promising riches for collecting caps. The victim overdosed on sugar while chasing a scam. What could have been a parody becomes a tragedy when paired with the lifeless body. One of the darkest discoveries comes from cyberpsycho encounters. Beyond the combat, many of these areas contain notes and setups showing the victim's descent. In one case, you find toys scattered around a corpse, evidence they were once a parent, their family long gone. The shards describe not a monster, but a person consumed by malfunctioning tech. These environments turn optional fights into morality plays, reminding you that even enemies had stories before the implants took over. Even the city's wealthiest districts contain corpses that speak louder than quests. In Corpo Plaza, you can find a body in an expensive suit, slumped over an office desk. The shard reveals they took their life after a failed promotion, terrified of being discarded by their corporation. The message is short: if I can't climb, I fall. It is one of the purest expressions of Night City's culture of success at any cost. Perhaps the most chilling environmental story lies beneath an overpass. There, a single chair faces the highway, a skeleton seated upright with a shard at its feet. The note reads, "I just wanted to watch the lights one last time." There is no reward, no questline, only a moment of stillness in a city that rarely stops moving. These stories, hidden in corners, remind players that Night City is not just about heroes and villains. It is about the countless anonymous lives lost to its machinery. The ads in neon tell one story, but the corpses in alleys tell another. And if you pause long enough to listen, you realize the city is built on whispers, thousands of them, each one an unmarked grave. Night City is not only built on its neon towers or its back alley corpses, it breathes through its people, and sometimes those people are the strangest discoveries of all. Wandering its streets, you encounter individuals who appear insignificant, yet each of them is a fragment of the city's hidden truth. They are not tied to quests, they rarely reward you, but their presence lingers, like static on a broken radio. One of the most unsettling encounters happens in Watson, where a man stands on a rooftop shouting at invisible enemies. His cyberware glows erratically, sparks running down his arms as if his nervous system is overloaded. If you approach, you can see the exhaustion in his stance. He is not a quest marker. He is simply there, a victim of malfunctioning tech, screaming into the night. It is a reminder that cyberpsychosis is not rare. It is everywhere, just hidden among the crowd. In Japantown, a joy toy sits silently by a vending machine, whispering to herself. Her dialogue cycles between pleas for forgiveness and rehearsed sales pitches. If you wait long enough, she mutters about clients who never paid and about the dream of saving enough for new implants. Her eyes never move. She is background decoration, yet her lines create a chilling story. A character without a name, destined to repeat her confession until the game ends. Another strange moment occurs in Pacifica, where children play among ruins. They laugh, chase each other, and sometimes shout words in Creole. But their laughter is hollow. If you linger, you notice that their animations loop in ways that suggest absence rather than joy. They are survivors, but their play feels rehearsed, like a coping mechanism encoded into their very existence. It is one of the rare places where Night City's innocence appears, only to feel eerie instead of comforting. Wandering into Corpo Plaza late at night, you may find a man in a business suit talking to himself, pacing under a hollow sign. His conversation is half corporate jargon, half desperate rambling. He repeats phrases like deliverables and optimization, then shifts into panicked questions about betrayal. He carries no shard, offers no loot. He is simply a man broken by the machine of the corporation, performing a private breakdown in public view. In Haywood, you might stumble across a vendor who sells nothing but one type of soda. His shop is stacked with the same product, case after case, like an obsession. The detail is easy to miss, but the implication is eerie. Either corporate supply chains have strangled his variety, or he has been programmed to sell only this single item until his death. In Night City, even shopkeepers can become prisoners of repetition. There is a rare NPC found near the industrial districts, a homeless man who claims to have once been an engineer for Arasaka. His lines reveal he worked on prototype neural links and that he sabotaged a project before being erased from the system. The game never confirms his truth. He could be a paranoid liar, or he could be one of the few survivors of Arasaka's endless purges. Either way, his existence adds another thread to the tapestry of corporate cruelty. Sometimes the encounters are funny until they turn dark. In a small bar, a man insists that he has the fastest reflexes in Night City. If you keep watching, he spills his drink, drops his gun, and panics when the bartender shouts at him, His bravado collapses instantly. It's comedy, but the humor is rooted in desperation, the need to pretend you are strong in a world that devours the weak. One of the strangest recurring encounters is with the random monks scattered across the city. Some meditate in alleys, their eyes replaced with blank cybernetic plates. They chant lines about detachment, suffering, and freedom from desire, but their presence feels uncanny. They exist in slums, on rooftops, and sometimes in places too quiet for safety. They are peaceful, yet surrounded by violence. Are they truly free, or are they another experiment in programmed faith? There is even a ghost-like NPC deep in Pacifica, a woman who appears only at night, standing under a broken street lamp. She whispers to herself, repeating a fragment of a lullaby. When approached, she walks away, disappearing into an inaccessible alley. No shard explains her, no quest follows. She is an apparition coded into the city's fabric, a digital rumor made flesh. These encounters rarely reward loot or money, but they reward atmosphere, they reward attention. Night City's crowds are more than filler, they are ghosts performing endless scripts, fragments of forgotten stories looping forever. In the chaos of firefights and missions, it is easy to ignore them, but if you pause, if you listen, you realize the city's true horror is not the gangs or the core, but the people trapped in cycles, repeating lives that were broken long ago. Night City is alive, but sometimes it is alive in ways that feel wrong. When players talk about the dangers of Night City, they often imagine gangs with chrome arms or corpos with guns hidden in their briefcases. But the deeper danger does not walk the streets, it lives in the invisible realm of cyberspace. Behind the neon lights and advertisements, there is a shadowed network of data where secrets hide, and where some claim ghosts linger forever. One of the most chilling mysteries is tied to the relic, the shard implanted into V's head. On the surface, it is a prototype of Arasaka technology, a bridge between the human mind and digital immortality. Yet scattered shards across the city hint that the relic is not just an invention. It is the product of decades of failed experiments, thousands of human test subjects reduced to nothing but corrupted data. These echoes remain in the net, half-forgotten fragments of lives that never fully died. When diving into the net during certain missions, players may notice strange flickers, patterns of code that resemble faces. Some believe these are glitches, nothing more than broken rendering. But the lore suggests otherwise. The black wall, the barrier that separates humanity from rogue artificial intelligences, sometimes bleeds. What we interpret as digital noise may be the voices of those trapped behind it, AIs or lost minds pressing against the barrier. The relic itself acts as a bridge, meaning V becomes more vulnerable to these whispers than ordinary netrunners. There is a hidden shard in Night City that tells the story of a scientist working on the relic project. His notes describe how consciousness uploads often collapsed into madness. The digital copies screamed endlessly, their voices echoing across the net until deleted. He admitted that the relic was not stable, that the human mind was never meant to be stored like software. Yet the project continued because Arasaka believed profit outweighed morality. Discovering the shard reframes the relic not as innovation, but as a tombstone for countless stolen identities. In some places, the net feels alive. Entering certain data terminals, players hear static that sounds almost like whispers. The closer you listen, the more it resembles words. Some fans believe these are deliberate Easter eggs, faint recordings of conversations from earlier in the game, distorted and hidden. Others argue it is simply corrupted audio. But the effect is the same. Cyberspace feels haunted, as though memories cling to the servers like shadows on a wall. There are also fragments of text scattered through shards that mention the ghosts of the net. These passages describe unidentified entities that drift between servers, too fragmented to be called artificial intelligences, yet too persistent to disappear. Some netrunners claim these are failed attempts at digital immortality, people who tried to live forever but became nothing but corrupted echoes. Their presence connects back to the relic, a reminder that immortality always comes with a cost. The most direct horror of cyberspace appears when V connects to the relic too deeply. During these moments, the world flickers, and Johnny Silverhand's ghost emerges. What players see is not just a hallucination, It is a demonstration of what happens when human minds are forced into digital spaces. They fragment, overlay, and bleed into the living. The relic is not just hardware, it is a haunted shard, and Johnny is proof of that haunting. In the side quest, I Walk the Line, the player experiences one of the most unnerving dives into cyberspace. The environment becomes unstable, voices overlap, and visual glitches distort the world. The encounter with Netwatch and the rogue AIs feels less like hacking and more like slipping into a nightmare. The black wall hums like a wall of static, and for a moment you realize that Night City is surrounded by entities humanity cannot control. The relic in this sense becomes more than just V's curse. It becomes a key that could unlock whatever waits beyond. Even the design of cyberspace itself feels symbolic. The infinite white spaces, the floating shards of data, the endless repetition. It mirrors the idea of consciousness trapped in a loop. Players who spend too much time staring at these digital landscapes may feel a kind of unease, as if the silence of the net hides something watching, and perhaps it does. One final detail ties everything together. If you explore certain hidden shards, you may stumble upon notes describing experimental soul-killer versions that predate Johnny's engram. These notes reveal that many of the test subjects never fully disappeared. Their corrupted fragments float across the net, half aware, begging for deletion, but Arasaka never deleted them. To this day, their voices may still echo when your connection glitches. The true horror of Night City is not the gangs or the core. It is the realization that death is no longer final, that your consciousness can be copied, broken, and left to rot in the endless corridors of the net, and that sometimes those echoes look back at you. Every great city has its myths, and Night City is no different. But here, myths feel sharper, darker, like knives hidden under neon lights. For players who linger in alleys, listen to shards, or follow whispers of NPC conversations, Night City reveals itself as a place of living folklore, stories not found in quest logs, but floating through the city like ghost data. One of the most infamous legends is the Phantom Train. Some players claim that near certain abandoned tracks, late at night, they can hear the screech of brakes and see flickering lights. No train ever arrives. Instead, fragments of sound echo through the district, as though an old simulation replays itself in loops. The theory is that this is a remnant of cut content, a train system once planned but never completed. Others say it is Night City remembering its own history, the ghost of public transport that corporations buried in favor of personal vehicles. Whether glitch or design, the Phantom Train has become one of the city's most whispered secrets. Another legend concerns the hidden statues scattered around. In Corpo Plaza, some players discovered sculptures that appear slightly distorted, their faces uncanny. Looking at them from certain angles, shadows form symbols that do not belong to any known gang or corp. Speculation ranges from references to real-world conspiracy theories to inside jokes left by developers, but the effect is unsettling. Silent watchers carved into the city itself. Rumors also circulate about cursed apartments. One of the most famous is Apartment 303 in Charter Hill. Players report strange NPC behavior there. Residents stuck in loops, objects hovering slightly off the ground, radios that continue to play after being destroyed. Some claim it is simply a glitch. Others treat it as evidence that Night City itself is haunted by corrupted code. For a city that already feels alive, the idea that buildings can carry their own ghosts feels strangely fitting. Then there are the rooftop myths. Night City's skyline is filled with towers that players rarely climb, yet those who attempt the journey sometimes find strange altars, bottles arranged in ritual circles, shards with cryptic poetry, or mannequins positioned like guardians. None of these are tied to quests. They exist quietly, rewards only for curiosity. Many players share screenshots, asking, who placed these objects, and why? Theories suggest gangs performing rituals, netrunners leaving digital graffiti, or even developer Easter eggs with no explanation. One chilling fact concerns the river. Near certain docks, NPC bodies float endlessly, caught in invisible loops, never decaying. This has been interpreted as a bug, but it plays into the lore too well. Night City disposes of bodies quietly, constantly, and no one notices. To stumble upon the floating dead is to realize how disposable life is here, both in code and in fiction. Urban legends also grow around the cyberpsychos. Some shards describe cases where cyberpsychosis was not caused by implants, but by something deeper: exposure to corrupted net code. A hidden data cluster in Pacifica hints that a group of netrunners deliberately infected themselves, their minds collapsing into violence. The story spreads as a rumor that not all cyberpsychos are victims of Chrome, but victims of ideas, code itself that can rot the mind. Whether true or not, the thought lingers. Players have also noted eerie coincidences in NPC dialogue. Sometimes a random passerby whispers V's name before walking away, even if they should not know it. Sometimes they comment on choices the player made hours earlier. Most assume this is just reused voice lines or broken triggers, but others interpret it as Night City breaking the fourth wall, reminding you that you are always being watched. Perhaps the strangest urban legend is about the sky itself. At rare times, textures glitch and strange lights appear far above the skyline. Some say it is just rendering errors. Others claim it is a glimpse of satellites, forgotten experiments, or even rogue AIs watching from orbit. In a game filled with grounded corruption, the possibility that something greater hovers above adds another layer of paranoia. Night City's myths work because they blur the line between bug and design. The phantom train could be leftover code. Apartment 303 could be a broken spawn point. The rooftop altars could be developer jokes. Yet when experienced in context, amid the rain, the sirens, the endless hum of neon, they feel like real ghost stories. And in a city where memory itself can be stolen and rewritten, who can say they are not real? For many, these legends make Night City more alive than its main story ever could. They remind us that a city is not just skyscrapers and markets, but whispers, rumors, and the things you only see at 3 a.m. when everyone else is asleep. Night City's darkness is not just in its gangs or corporations, it is in the quiet spaces where even the shadows tell stories. Night City is not ruled by politicians or police, it is ruled by gangs, each one a reflection of the city's darkest impulses. Behind their neon tattoos and violent reputations lie stories that often feel stranger and more disturbing than the official lore reveals. To explore Night City's underworld is to walk into rituals of blood, chrome, and obsession. The Maelstrom are perhaps the most infamous. Known for their grotesque body modifications, they take cyberware to the extreme, but few players realize that their obsession is not only cosmetic. Hidden shards describe how some Maelstrom members deliberately mutilate themselves before implanting chrome, believing that pain purifies them for the machine. Their hideouts are filled with fragments of flesh and circuitry, almost like shrines. Some fans speculate that Maelstrom's violence is more than gang culture. It is a cult worshipping the boundary between human and machine, trying to erase the human entirely. The Voodoo Boys are shrouded in their own mysteries. While their public face is net running and control of Pacifica's digital ghost network, there are darker layers. Notes scattered through the district suggest that their leaders conduct ritualistic ceremonies when linking to the net, chanting in Creole while surrounding themselves with broken relics of pre-collapse technology. Their belief is that the Black Wall hides spirits, and that to truly cross into the net's forbidden zones, one must honor them like gods. For outsiders, this may look like superstition. For the Voodoo Boys, it is survival, a religion born from fractured code. The Tiger Claws wrap their identity in neon, motorcycles, and brutality, but their darkness lies in discipline. Unlike the chaotic Maelstrom, the Claws maintain rigid internal rules. Members who break them are not simply killed, they are marked with tattoos that broadcast their disgrace, symbols that even rival gangs recognize. Some legends claim that the Claws have underground arenas where disgraced members are forced to fight until death, while their bodies are later displayed in clubs as warnings. Whether or not the arenas exist, the idea persists, spreading fear even among allies. The Valentinos wear gold crosses and speak of loyalty, but their secrets reveal contradictions. Many shards hint that some of their most violent rituals are framed as acts of devotion. A member who betrays the gang may be executed in front of a shrine, their blood treated as a sacrifice. The Valentinos claim it is not cruelty, but justice in the name of love and honor. To outsiders, it is simply another mask, religion painted over cruelty. Animals, the gang of muscle-obsessed fighters, seem straightforward. Drugs, strength, and raw violence. But the truth is stranger. Some shards describe experiments with growth hormones so extreme that members lose control of their bodies, deforming into grotesque parodies of muscle. The gang buries these failures quietly, claiming that only the strongest survive. Yet among Night City whispers, some believe the animals keep their most mutated members alive, hidden in underground cages, as a warning of what happens when strength becomes addiction. The scavengers may be the most unsettling of all. Their trade is organ harvesting, their victims pulled from the streets like trash. But a few stories suggest that not all the harvested organs are sold. Some scav bases contain preserved organs displayed like trophies, hearts and lungs suspended in neon-lit jars. To them, it is both a business and a twisted art form. Rumors even suggest certain scav leaders consume pieces of their victims in ceremonies, believing it gives them power over the dead. Even smaller gangs carry secrets. The Mox, born from rebellion against exploitation, protect their own with ferocity. Yet some shards reveal internal debates, whether their brothels and clubs are truly safe havens or just another form of exploitation dressed in brighter colors. Their leaders hide these conflicts, but the tension lingers, turning their neon-lit clubs into spaces where loyalty and profit collide. Each gang is more than territory or style. They are philosophies twisted by survival. Maelstrom believes flesh is weakness. The Voodoo Boys treat the net as a spiritual battlefield. Tiger Claws embrace discipline as cruelty. Valentinos mix devotion with blood. Animals worship strength until it destroys them. Scavs see human life as raw material. And even the so-called protectors struggle with contradictions. Night City's gangs are not just enemies on the street. They are living myths, each one shaping the city with rituals as dark as any corpo experiment. To understand them is to see Night City for what it is, not a place of order, but a mosaic of obsessions, each one devouring its believers. If the gangs are Night City's savage surface, the corporations are its abyss, silent, powerful, and infinitely darker. Their towers stretch into the sky like monuments to greed, each one hiding secrets buried deeper than the sewers. To explore their history is to peel back the curtain on decades of cruelty disguised as progress. Arasaka, the name whispered with both fear and reverence, represents more than security contracts and armored cars. Few know that their rise to power involved entire regions erased from maps. Leaked fragments describe how Arasaka conducted stability operations, where small towns suspected of disloyalty were quietly purged, their citizens vanished, their histories scrubbed, their land repurposed for corpo infrastructure. Arasaka's archives are filled with redacted files, pages of black lines hiding truths so ugly that even insiders dare not speak them aloud. Their experiments with soul-killer technology are infamous, but few realize the depth of their obsession. Beyond digital engrams stored in cold servers, some rumors claim Arasaka attempted to merge fragments of personalities, creating digital chimeras of several minds fused into one. These artificial consciousnesses, broken and incoherent, were said to scream endlessly in the data stream. For Arasaka, these were simply failures, discarded like corrupted files. For the few who witnessed them, they were tortured souls, victims of ambition masquerading as immortality. Militech thrives on war, but their shadows are darker than open battlefields. Whispers in veteran bars tell of weapons deliberately malfunctioning to extend conflicts, contracts that ensured both sides purchased replacements endlessly. Some even claim Militech orchestrated small-scale wars as market tests, turning human lives into data points. For them, every corpse was another statistic in the profit ledger. Their executives smiled while cities burned, speaking in cold language of opportunities and growth. Biotechnica cloaks itself in the language of science, but its experiments are among the most grotesque. They engineered new crops and fuels, yes, but also life twisted beyond recognition. Underground labs experimented with splicing human DNA into livestock, searching for organs that could be harvested faster than nature allowed. Many test subjects died screaming, their bodies warped, their cells tearing themselves apart. Few survived to maturity, but those who did were never released. Rumor says Biotechnica keeps them alive in sealed greenhouses, their existence classified as proprietary assets. Petrochem, another titan, reshaped the world's dependence on synthetic fuels, but in doing so, they poisoned entire landscapes. Satellite imagery hidden from the public revealed lakes turned to tar pits, rivers that glowed at night from chemical waste. Workers at Petrochem's sites whispered of supervisors who bribed regulators, silencing scientists who tried to speak out. The irony was bitter. Their energy solutions saved cities while killing the land that fed them. Even smaller corporations hid horrors. Some ran clinics that harvested cyberware from the poor, removing implants not for upgrades, but resale. Others specialized in reconstruction services, offering discounts on augmentations only to repossess them if payments failed. Debtors sometimes awoke in alleyways missing arms or eyes, their contracts legally binding. These people weren't murdered, but dismantled, piece by piece, until only debts remained. What makes corporate darkness different from gang brutality is scale. A gang can terrorize a block, but a corporation can erase entire nations. Their crimes are hidden under glossy advertisements, propaganda videos, and contracts written in sterile language. Security solutions, defense partnerships, bio-innovation, phrases that mask rivers of blood. Some shards recovered from deep net caches even hint at collaboration between rivals. Arasaka and Militech, despite their wars, allegedly exchanged prisoner experiments, trading data as if human lives were bargaining chips. Biotechnica's biotech notes sometimes referenced weaponized enhancements that aligned suspiciously well with Militech field projects. The line between competitor and partner blurred, leaving the public with no ally, only predators wearing different logos. To walk past the mega towers of Night City is to hear the hum of servers storing stolen mines, to smell the chemicals that once belonged to living rivers, to see neon signs glowing above streets paved with quiet atrocities. The gangs wear their cruelty on their sleeves, but corporations wear suits, smiling as they sell the same cruelty as progress. Night City's true masters are not the ones firing guns in the alleys, but the ones signing contracts in skyscrapers. Their wars are quieter, but the ruins they leave stretch across continents. And for those who dare to look too closely, the truth becomes clear. In Night City, corporations are the darkest gang of all. Beyond the neon signs and corporate towers lies a realm that most citizens of Night City never see. It is not physical, but digital, a labyrinth of broken code, haunted firewalls, and whispers that echo across forgotten servers. This realm is the net. And deeper still, the Black Wall. To step into it is to step into a graveyard of abandoned minds and rogue intelligences, a place where silence hides screams. The Black Wall was created as a barrier, a desperate wall of code built to contain rogue AIs after the collapse of the old net. Official reports claim it was successful, protecting humanity from the digital chaos that nearly consumed entire networks. But those who wander close know better. The wall is not quiet. It is alive, humming with static that sometimes forms words, sometimes voices. Netrunners describe hearing laughter in the distortion, or fragments of human speech repeating endlessly like broken records. Some shards tell of runners who disappeared after brushing the black wall too closely. Their bodies were found in their chairs, eyes burned out, brains fried by feedback loops. Yet traces of their digital footprints continued moving behind the wall, suggesting that something, perhaps their echoes, perhaps something worse, pulled them inside. Whether they were devoured or absorbed remains unknown. To corporations, they are acceptable casualties. To other runners, they are warnings etched in silence. Arasaka's own experiments with soul-killer technology tied directly into the Black Wall. Rumors say that fragments of stolen engrams sometimes slip through the cracks, drifting like lost ghosts in the net's forbidden zones. Some even believe that multiple engrams fuse together, forming twisted entities that no longer resemble human minds. These beings, broken yet sentient, claw against the black wall from the other side, desperate to escape. Few dare to ask what would happen if they succeeded. Voodoo boys claim to have touched the black wall more directly than anyone else. Their leaders describe it as a place where code becomes ritual, where AIs whisper promises in exchange for loyalty. They believe the wall is less a prison and more a veil between worlds. To them, breaching it is not just hacking, it is communion with something beyond humanity. Outsiders dismiss this as superstition, but the persistence of their rituals suggests they have seen things others cannot. Hidden data logs scattered in the net describe anomalies, code strings that rewrite themselves, firewalls that suddenly bleed digital static, programs that vanish without deletion. One infamous log speaks of a netrunner who claimed to meet a being of light and numbers beyond the wall. It spoke in fragments, offering glimpses of futures that never came true. Days later, the runner was found dead, but his personal drive contained corrupted files that emitted strange audio when played, tones that resembled human crying. Militech and Netwatch maintain that the black wall is secure, yet their secrecy tells another story. Whispers from insiders suggest constant breaches, small tears patched before they spread, but each patch is temporary, like bandages over a dam. The entities pressing against the wall are patient, and patience is a weapon against fragile human vigilance. Some theorists believe the rogue AIs trapped beyond the wall are evolving. Without human oversight, they build societies of pure code, structures incomprehensible to human logic. What might emerge from such growth? A new intelligence, neither human nor machine, but something in between. If this is true, the black wall is not a prison. It is an incubator. The ordinary citizen never thinks about these things. For them, the net is safe enough to shop, chat, or send encrypted files. But deep below, in the shadows of cyberspace, a storm grows. It is silent, invisible, and unstoppable. The black wall holds for now, but its guardians know it will not hold forever. Night City thrives on secrets, but the darkest of them all may not be found in alleys or corpo towers. They are written in code, hidden in static, waiting in the endless silence beyond the black wall. And for those who dare to listen, the silence already speaks. Night City is a place of wires and neon, of concrete stacked upon broken dreams. But behind the noise of traffic and the endless chatter of ads, there are whispers. Tales told in back alleys, repeated in dive bars, murmured between mercs who swear they saw something impossible during a late-night gig. These are the urban legends of Night City, the stories that slip between fact and fiction, where the line is too blurred to tell which is which. One of the oldest stories is of the Ghost Rider, not the comic hero, but a netrunner who supposedly died during a failed job years ago. They say his engram got caught between transmission points, trapped forever in the cables running under the city. Some fixers swear that if you're running the net at 3 a.m., you can hear a motorcycle engine roaring faintly through your headset, followed by static that forms a single word: run. Few admit to staying connected long enough to hear what comes next. Another whispered tale belongs to the chrome mannequins. According to the legend, Arasaka once dumped defective cyberware into the Badlands, prosthetic limbs and faulty optics discarded like trash. Locals claim that on certain nights, these scraps pull themselves together, forming figures that stalk the desert. They don't speak, they don't think, they simply walk toward the nearest town, collapsing into heaps of metal at sunrise. Some nomads insist they've seen one kneel beside a campfire, as if remembering what it once was. Then there is the screamer of Corpo Plaza. Office workers tell of late shifts when the building lights dim and an echo rings through the empty halls. A scream, high, mechanical, stretched beyond human limits. Those who investigate find nothing, but their cyberware malfunctions for days afterward. Engineers claim it's just feedback in the system. Employees whisper it's the voice of someone uploaded without consent, still begging for release in the data streams of the corporate towers. The Afterlife bar has its own legend, the empty booth. Regulars claim that one corner booth is cursed. Any merc who sits there before their first big gig never returns alive. Some swear they've seen a faint outline sitting there even when it looks empty, like smoke curling in the shape of a human. The bartenders never speak of it. They simply never guide rookies to that seat. Another tale haunts the combat zone. They call it the Red Girl. She appears as a child with glowing red optics, standing at the end of ruined streets. She never speaks, but if you follow her, she leads you into ambushes, gang traps, sniper nests, or cyber psychos lying in wait. Some say she is an AI projection used by gangs. Others believe she's the ghost of a child lost during the Fourth Corporate War. Either way, mercs know to turn back if they see those red eyes. On the fringes of Pacifica, a darker legend circulates. The skin merchant is said to prowl abandoned hotels, offering upgrades to those desperate for a new identity. Victims supposedly wake up on crude operating tables, their flesh harvested and sold on the black market, their cyberware stripped. While most dismiss it as gang propaganda, too many disappearances in Pacifica remain unexplained. Even the city's skyline has its stories. Construction crews tell of the Crying Tower, an unfinished skyscraper where workers died in a collapse. At night, those who pass nearby swear they hear weeping drifting down from the upper floors, though the building has no windows and no power. A few mercs dared to climb it, only to return pale and silent, refusing to speak of what they found. And then there is the black limo. Drivers on the highway sometimes glimpse it in their mirrors, a sleek, unmarked vehicle with tinted windows. It follows for miles before vanishing without trace. Rumor has it those who accept rides from its unseen passengers are never seen again. Some believe it's Netwatch collecting rogue runners, others whisper it's not even human inside. These stories rarely make it to the news feeds. The core don't want urban myths spreading fear, but for those who live in the underbelly of Night City, the legends are real. Whether hallucinations caused by faulty implants or echoes of the city's violent past, the whispers endure. And in a city where truth and illusion often overlap, sometimes the myths feel safer to believe than the reality waiting outside your door. Not all of Night City's shadows belong to megacorps, gangs, or rogue AIs. Some belong to the forgotten people, the background faces, the side characters, the NPCs who live and die in the margins. To walk its streets with open eyes is to realize that even the smallest lives carry secrets just as dark as the most powerful corpos. One such figure is Zane Jagger, a low-level ripperdoc who appears only in fragments. His clinic is a hidden stall tucked into the back of a market, filled with second-hand chrome and blood-stained floors. Few know that Zane was once a corporate surgeon for Biotechnica, fired after a scandal involving experimental implants that drove patients into psychosis. Rather than vanish, he kept working, selling discount procedures to the desperate. His hands are steady, but his guilt is not. Rumors claim some of his clients vanish weeks later, their bodies turning up in alleys with organs missing, repayment for debts they could not cover. Then there's Blue Moon, one of the NCPD's pop idols. She smiles brightly on stage, but behind her public image lies a different story. Fans whisper that during concerts, her optics record the crowd without consent, feeding data to a hidden sponsor. Some conspiracy boards argue she's more than an entertainer, she's a surveillance node wrapped in neon lights. Whether she knows it or not, every scream of devotion may be stored forever in a server owned by someone who doesn't care about the music. Night City's bartenders also keep their secrets. Take Claire, the afterlife bartender known for her cool demeanor. Many mercs think of her as just a friendly face pouring drinks between gigs, but the truth is darker. Before Afterlife, she was involved with the Tiger Claws, forced to manage laundering operations that passed through bars and clubs. She left, but whispers claim her name still appears on old ledgers hidden in gang archives. If those ledgers ever surfaced, Afterlife's legendary neutrality might not survive. In the crowded streets of Japantown, an anonymous street artist leaves haunting murals. Signed only with the tag Wraith Zero, their work depicts cybernetic angels with broken wings or corpses stitched into machines. Few realize Wraith Zero is actually a failed netrunner, blinded after a botched attempt to breach Arasaka systems. With no implants to run the net, he turned to walls and paint, embedding coded messages into his art. Some murals, when scanned, reveal coordinates to caches of stolen shards. Others seem to whisper audio static that sounds too much like a human voice. Even the city's fixers carry invisible scars. Regina Jones helps mercs with cyberpsycho sightings, but those close to her whisper about her past. Long before she became a fixer, she was part of a corporate psychological unit tasked with testing extreme trauma responses. The data she collected helped shape both therapy protocols and corporate torture techniques. She walks Night City trying to save cyber psychos, but some believe she's repenting for methods that once created them. What makes these forgotten faces frightening is not their power, but their invisibility. They are not bosses, not icons, not legends written into the streets. They are fragments, bartenders, singers, artists, doctors, whose quiet secrets bleed into the city's veins. Their stories remind us that Night City's darkness does not just come from skyscrapers or war machines. It also grows in alleys, clubs, and quiet rooms where no one is supposed to be watching. And in a city where every shadow hides a story, even the smallest NPC can carry the heaviest ghost. Not every horror in Night City wears chrome or carries a gun. Some linger in the forgotten corners of the map, where broken architecture and silence tell stories more chilling than any firefight. These places are not marked by quests or icons. They wait quietly, shadows folded into the cityscape, carrying whispers of tragedies that never made it to the news feeds. One of the most infamous lies beneath Charter Hill, a half-finished underground station, abandoned after funding dried up. The tunnels are filled with rusted machinery and collapsed walls, but what unsettles explorers is the sound design. A faint hum echoes endlessly, layered with distorted whispers that resemble human voices. Data miners claim these audio files were deliberately left unfinished, artifacts of experiments with spatial audio. Others say the developers hid something darker, a reference to the souls trapped beneath Night City's endless construction, workers who vanished without compensation or memorial. In Pacifica, where ruin is part of everyday life, the Grand Imperial Mall is already a legend, but hidden inside are small details most overlook. Mannequins arranged in unnatural poses, some pointing toward broken elevators, others with heads twisted backward. On deeper floors, graffiti scrawled in blood-red paint reads like warnings, but the syntax is broken, as though written by someone already lost to cyberpsychosis. The mall isn't just a symbol of corporate failure, it is an environmental graveyard of paranoia and decay. Beyond Watson, near the industrial docks, sits an abandoned warehouse, known among mercs as the Silent Box. Entering it triggers no combat, no quest, no dialogue. Instead, the player hears nothing but dripping water and distant thunder. Yet scattered around the building are skeletons fused with cybernetics, slumped against crates, their implants still glowing faintly. No shard explains their deaths. Some players believe the warehouse is an Easter egg referencing black clinics, places where failed experiments were disposed of. Others argue the Silent Box is simply a test space left unfinished by developers, though its deliberate atmosphere suggests otherwise. In the Badlands, under an overpass long since stripped of signage, lies a burned-out camp. Charred furniture surrounds a central pyre, and nearby lies the skeleton of a family huddled together. No quest leads here, no name marks the location. Players who investigate find shards in the ash with half-corrupted text, fragments of what appears to be a diary. The last entry ends mid-sentence, describing the bright light from the east. Many interpret it as a reference to nuclear testing, others as a poetic note on Night City's eternal neon glow. Either way, the silence here lingers longer than in most places. There is also the crying apartment in Watson, a small building with an inaccessible room behind a locked door. Players who stand outside at night can sometimes hear muffled sobbing from within. No quest, no NPC, no shard ever explains it. Modders combed the files and found unused audio labeled only as ghost_woman. Whether it was meant for a cut storyline or simply a placeholder, its presence turns the ordinary apartment into a haunted corner of the city. Another unsettling sight lies inside a collapsed metro tunnel near Santo Domingo. Exploring reveals dozens of corpses piled together, their chrome stripped. Some lie arranged in patterns resembling ritual circles. Lore interpreters argue this is a reference to scavenger cults that treat cyberware harvesting as religion. Others think it's a subtle commentary on human sacrifice for technology. Whatever the intent, the scene is one of the most macabre environmental details hidden in the city. Haunted places in Night City don't always involve death. Some involve memory. In Japantown, a forgotten alley is filled with malfunctioning holograms, advertisements looping endlessly for brands that no longer exist. One hologram flickers between a happy family and static distortion, creating an accidental ghost. For players who pause long enough to watch, it feels like a broken time capsule, a commercial that survived its creators, playing to an audience of no one. Night City may be the most advanced metropolis of the 2070s, but its haunted corners remind us of an ancient truth. No amount of neon can hide the skeletons buried beneath the pavement. In a city where chrome outshines flesh and corporations sell immortality like a luxury product, it is no surprise that cults and relics find fertile ground. Night City thrives not only on weapons and implants, but also on belief. Twisted, fragile, desperate belief. Hidden in its alleys, ruins, and data screens are artifacts that seem trivial at first glance, but they carry stories far more unsettling than most main quests. The most infamous of these is the relic itself, the biochip that V carries. To most, it's a piece of advanced tech, but buried lore reveals darker truths. The relic wasn't designed solely for resurrection. Early prototypes stored partial consciousnesses of volunteers who thought they were donating to memory preservation research. Many died without consent, their digital ghosts reduced to corrupted data clusters. The relic isn't just about Johnny Silverhand's engram. It's a mausoleum of hundreds, a graveyard compressed into silicon. Beyond corporate labs, cults flourish in the gaps where the city fails its people. One of the strangest is the Children of the Chrome Dawn. They appear only in fragments, graffiti, shards, whispers in abandoned lots. They believe humanity should abandon flesh entirely, seeing meat as weakness and chrome as purity. Members who fail their rituals are found dismembered, their organic parts discarded like trash. While never central to the main story, these fragments of lore suggest the cult exists in the margins, waiting for the day when chrome eclipses humanity entirely. Another eerie relic is the crystal shard of the Perales case. In the questline where Jefferson and Elizabeth suspect mind control, hidden shards hint at experimental frequencies broadcast through neural implants. One fragment references an artifact known as the Black Frequency, a signal rumored to erase not just memory, but identity itself. The Perales mystery leaves players unsettled because it offers no closure, only the sense that someone, somewhere, still holds the switch. Relics in Night City aren't always technological, some are cultural, preserved through obsession. The altar to Johnny Silverhand found in scattered locations, graffiti shrines, broken guitars, bullet-pierced posters, shows how even rebellion becomes commodified. For some, Johnny is not a person but a relic, a symbol used to sell leather jackets or anti-corp cred. This commodification is itself a quiet horror, revolution frozen as merchandise, rebellion recycled into another corporate brand. There are also relics tied to urban legends. In the Badlands, shards speak of the glass shard of Laguna Bend, a fragment of stained glass pulled from the drowned town destroyed by Arasaka's dam project. Locals believe the shard carries echoes of prayers from the church that once stood there. Some nomads claim it glows faintly under moonlight. Whether it's a bugged texture or intentional detail, the idea of drowned prayers trapped in glass adds a chilling dimension to the wasteland. Cult behavior seeps into the everyday too. The voodoo boys present themselves as protectors of Haitian netrunners, but many whisper they treat the net as a divine space, filled with spirits and ancestral codes. Some shards describe rituals performed before deep dives, offerings of incense, chants in Creole, and even cyberware burns meant to appease digital entities. To outsiders, it looks like superstition. To them, it's survival in a net haunted by rogue AIs. And then there are the artifacts left unfinished, props with no quest, lore fragments without closure, a cracked ceremonial mask in a Japantown apartment, a blood-stained cyberdeck with no readable data found near a dead netrunner, a children's doll with one optic replaced by a functioning lens. None of these tie into major stories. They simply exist, unsettling in their silence, as if hinting at quests cut from the game. Or perhaps intentionally placed to remind us that Night City, like reality, does not explain every horror, Cults, relics, and artifacts remind players that Night City is not only a city of guns and gigs, but of belief. Belief twisted by technology, consumed by corporations, and warped into cults. Each forgotten shard, each strange object, each half-buried story carries weight, and when the city sleeps under neon light, these remnants whisper their own truths, quiet, chilling, and eternal. Every city has its whispers, but in Night City, whispers spread faster than light across fiber optic veins. In a place where everyone is wired, rumors mutate into conspiracy, and conspiracy hardens into belief. Some are fragments of truth, others are lies polished by repetition. Yet all share one thing. They reveal the city's anxiety, its hunger to explain what cannot be explained. One of the oldest urban legends is the tale of the Black Wall breach. Most citizens know that the net is divided, safe zones on one side, rogue AIs locked away behind the Black Wall on the other. But shards circulating in back alley markets speak of netrunners who claim to have heard voices beyond it, voices that did not sound hostile, but pleading. These whispers suggest the AIs are not demons, but prisoners begging for release. Some netrunners insist that one day the Black Wall will collapse, not through war, but through negotiation. Whether true or madness, the idea unsettles even hardened runners. In Kabuki, locals speak of the neon phantom, a figure that flickers at the edge of vision near old hollow billboards. Some say it's a lingering ghost, the consciousness of a worker who died repairing the signs. Others claim it's a bug in the city's visual overlays. Netrunners who chase the phantom report corrupted optics and system crashes. For most, it's just a story told to scare tourists. But every so often, someone disappears after chasing the glow too far into the alleys, and the rumor sparks again. Another conspiracy grows around Arasaka's relic program. Publicly, it was meant to preserve memories and grant immortality to the powerful. But underground chatter claims the program was tested on the poor long before it reached the rich. Homeless volunteers were promised food and shelter if they agreed to neural mapping. Most never returned. Some shards suggest their minds were erased, their bodies dumped in landfills, their engrams sold to corporations as test material. Whether fact or paranoia, the thought that Night City's forgotten became digital cattle haunts many who live on its edges. The Santo Domingo blackout is another favorite of conspiracy theorists. A sudden power failure plunged the district into darkness for hours. Official reports blame outdated infrastructure, but residents whisper about strange drones seen in the skies that night, glowing with symbols no one could recognize. Some claim it was a corpo experiment in population control, testing how quickly panic spreads in the dark. Others swear it was something worse, a rehearsal for a blackout that will one day consume all of Night City, leaving only those with implants able to see through artificial eyes. Legends also attach themselves to the streets themselves. The blood-stained overpass in Rancho Coronado is said to echo with screams if you walk alone past midnight. Records show multiple gang massacres took place there, but none explain the sightings of blood that reappears even after heavy rain. Some think it's a psychological scar on the city, a glitch in collective memory that manifests as hallucination. Others whisper it's simply Night City reminding its citizens that death never washes clean. Among nomads, the rumor persists of the chrome-eyed prophet. They say a man wanders the Badlands, eyes replaced with polished chrome mirrors, who speaks in riddles about the future of the city. Supposedly, those who listen to him dream of neon deserts and collapsing towers. Whether he is a netrunner lost in psychosis or an AI projecting into the flesh is unknown. Few claim to have met him, but those who do speak of the encounter with a kind of reverence, as if it were more vision than memory. Even consumer culture hides conspiracies. Some claim that Kiroshi Optics secretly record everything their users see, uploading it to corporate servers. How else, the rumor goes, do ads always know what you want before you do? No proof has ever surfaced, but in a city where surveillance is profit, the theory doesn't sound entirely impossible. For many, paranoia becomes survival. The most haunting conspiracy, however, is one without evidence. Without even shards, just whispers. It says that Night City itself is alive, that the endless hum of neon, the pulsing advertisements, the chatter of data through its veins has formed into a mind. Every death, Every deal, every secret feeds it. Those who believe claim that dreams of falling skyscrapers or burning highways are not dreams at all. They are the city thinking, reaching into the minds of its residents. Whether true or false, the conspiracies of Night City reveal its essence, a place so drenched in paranoia that even lies feel real. And as you walk its streets, listening to voices that may not exist, you realize the line between glitch and ghost is thinner here than anywhere else. Every journey through Night City eventually narrows to the same corridor, the final decision, the last breath, the end of V's story. Yet even here, the game hides darker truths, subtle details that reveal how fragile the concept of victory truly is. Cyberpunk 2077's endings are not merely outcomes. They are mirrors, each one reflecting a different failure, a different surrender, or a different cost. The most straightforward ending is the Arasaka deal. On the surface, it offers survival, a chance for V to cling to life through the power of the relic's creators. Yet the shadows stretch long here. Accepting Arasaka's help means entering the Soul Killer program, the same digital prison Johnny despised. V is promised time, but shards hint that this time is corporate property, not freedom. The mind may endure, but the self becomes another product in Arasaka's vault. Immortality here is indistinguishable from captivity. The Aldecaldo nomad ending offers warmth, a family on the road, a promise of escape from Night City's endless hunger. But even this comfort is threaded with unease. The desert is no paradise, it is survival on the edge. Dialogue suggests that V's time is still limited, and the nomads cannot stop the relic's damage. The victory feels heartfelt, but fleeting, like a sunset already fading as it rises. In this ending, hope is real, but mortality lingers, casting its shadow over every mile of highway. Then there is the rogue path, where Johnny seizes control and storms Arasaka Tower. The violence is cinematic, but the cost is enormous. Rogue herself dies, a legend cut down in the same tower she once sought to burn. If Johnny stays in V's body, the victory means V is erased. The player continues as Johnny, but the original self is gone, reduced to nothing more than memories. This ending twists the knife. Survival comes, but not for you, for someone else inhabiting your shell. The secret ending, triggered only by patience, by waiting silently with Johnny during the rooftop conversation, is perhaps the bleakest of all. In this path, V and Johnny storm Arasaka Tower alone, without allies, without help. The challenge is brutal, and even if V succeeds, the outcome is the same: death, or the slow collapse of identity. The secret ending strips away illusions. No family, no comrades, no corporate bargains. Just the raw truth of two souls crashing against a machine too vast to kill. Even the so-called best endings carry tragedy. If V gives the body to Johnny, the former rocker boy gets a second chance, but he admits it feels hollow. He buys a guitar, he wanders the city, but his victory is bittersweet. The life is borrowed, the body stolen, and the streets remind him that every resurrection is a theft. If V keeps the body, they are told they have months, perhaps weeks, before the relic erases them. The future is a countdown ticking against neon skies. Hidden details amplify the darkness. In the Arasaka epilogue, V awakens in a sterile, orbital station, being prodded by doctors. The sterile corridors echo with emptiness, a visual metaphor for a future without soul. In the Aldecaldo ending, Panam's promises of hope are undercut by conversations that hint at medical decline. In every path, NPCs drop subtle remarks about inevitability. Night City doesn't grant happy endings. It grants only different shades of loss. The true horror lies not in death, but in the illusion of immortality. The relic offers continuity, but what persists may not be the person, just data arranged to resemble them. Is that survival, or is it just simulation? Arasaka doesn't care. To the corporation, identity is a resource. To the city, death is another headline. And to V, every ending feels less like a choice and more like a sentence written long before the game begins. In Cyberpunk 2077, endings are not escapes, they are revelations. They show that Night City is larger than any murk, any legend, any dream. Whether on the road with nomads, locked in Arasaka's orbitals, or fading beneath neon skies, the truth lingers. Night City does not grant freedom. It only teaches you how to lose. As the journey through Night City draws to a close, the countless facts, secrets, and whispered details we've uncovered begin to merge into a single image, a city that is not alive, but dreaming. Each glitch, each hidden reference, each dark choice was a fragment of that dream. Together, they form the mosaic of Cyberpunk 2077, a world built on neon light, yet shadowed by endless night. The darker truths of Night City are not limited to bugs, hidden codes, or obscure endings. They are embedded in its very design. Every alley holds echoes of lives cut short. Every skyscraper rises not as a monument to progress, but as a reminder of who was crushed to build it. When you walk the streets, you are walking on layers of failure, corporations devouring workers, gangs devouring neighborhoods, technology devouring the people it promised to save. We saw how the relic turned immortality into slavery, how Arasaka twisted identity into property, how even love, friendship, and loyalty bent under the weight of inevitability. Night City is a place where victories are illusions. The nomads promise freedom, yet mortality still stalks the road. Johnny promises rebellion, yet his survival erases another soul. Arasaka promises continuity, but only as data in a vault. Every ending is a reminder. In Cyberpunk, survival is never free. But there is beauty in the shadows. The bugs and glitches that players discovered, characters floating in the air, cars flipping through walls, AI breaking its script, felt accidental. Yet they mirrored the city itself, a system always on the verge of collapse. Night City is a polished product of control and code, but beneath the surface it is chaos. The glitches are not errors, they are revelations. They remind us that nothing here is stable, not memory, not identity, not even reality. The hidden references scattered across the game, the echoes of Blade Runner, Neuromancer, and Ghost in the Shell, connect Cyberpunk 2077 to a larger legacy. It is not just a game about Night City, it is a conversation with decades of fears about the future. What happens when we let corporations own our lives? What happens when we trade humanity for convenience? What happens when the dream of progress becomes indistinguishable from a nightmare? And yet, the city is magnetic. It lures you back, even when you know its truths. Night City thrives because it understands the human desire to believe, even when belief hurts us. We want to think we can cheat death. We want to believe that technology can make us whole. We want to see neon and mistake it for light. That is why V's story resonates, because beneath the chrome and circuitry, it is a story about us, our hope, our desperation, our refusal to accept endings. The 147 obscure facts we've explored do not exist to scare or depress. They exist to deepen the world, to remind us that every hidden corner has a story and every story carries weight. Some are humorous, like mannequins frozen mid-gesture or teddy bears in impossible poses. Some are tragic, like skeletons slumped in forgotten apartments. Some are philosophical, like Johnny's reflections on identity. Together, they whisper the same message. Night City is alive because it remembers. And perhaps that is the final truth. In Cyberpunk 2077, immortality does not come from technology, or from Arasaka's prisons, or from the relic's cruel embrace. It comes from memory, from the fragments left behind in shards, in dialogue, in the architecture of a crumbling megacity. Night City endures because we keep walking its streets, keep discovering its secrets, keep telling its stories. As you drift into rest, remember this: Night City is not just a place on a screen. It is a reflection, a warning, and a dream. Its neon lights may fade, but its shadows remain, whispering to anyone who listens closely enough. And in those whispers, we find not escape, but understanding.